Night doesn't last long in the desert. The sun comes up fast, like someone pulled a curtain, and suddenly the world is bright, hot, and merciless. That morning, our convoy rolled toward Fallujah. Fallujah wasn't just another city on the map. It was a name whispered on the radio, a place already wrapped in rumors. Fighters moved through it like shadows. Every street was said to be mined, every window a gun barrel waiting. The closer we got, the quieter it became. No traffic, no children playing, no merchants yelling at each other across the market stalls. Just silence. And silence in Iraq was never peace. Silence meant someone was preparing something. Staff Sergeant Hale sat in the lead Humvee, eyes hidden behind scratch sunglasses. He didn't waste words. Just short bursts on the radio. Check intervals. Watch the rooftops. Keep moving. Corporal Ramirez, riding shotgun, cracked a dry joke about how the streets were cleaner than back home in San Antonio. Nobody laughed, not because it wasn't funny, but because the silence pressed down too hard. Even humor had to fight its way through. Private Lewis, the youngest, gripped the wheel of his Humvee. Sweat rolled down his neck, soaking into the collar of his vest. He muttered under his breath, not prayers exactly, more like reminders. Keep it steady. Don't miss the turn. Don't stall the engine. He'd been a mechanic back home. Now every sound from the engine felt like it could decide life or death. The first sign came quick. A street that should have been alive with movement was empty. Doors shut, curtains drawn. Hale's voice cut over the net. Everyone heads up. This isn't right. Then the second sign, a car parked awkwardly at the corner, dust covering the windshield like it hadn't been touched in weeks. Too perfect, too still. The convoy slowed. Ramirez hopped out, weapon raised, eyes scanning. Sappers moved in. They checked. Cleared. Empty. But the lesson was already written in their nerves. Fallujah was playing with them. As they pushed deeper into the city, the atmosphere thickened. The smell of diesel mixed with cooking fires. Somewhere a dog barked, then silence again. Always the silence. The men began reading the city the way hunters read a forest, a curtain that moved too quickly. A rooftop where someone had just been, a market stall abandoned with food still laid out. Every detail became a warning. And then it hit them all at once, the realization that Fallujah itself was a weapon. Streets that twisted into choke points, alleys that funneled sight lines. Windows stacked 3 high with perfect fields of fire. That day, no shots were fired, no ambush, just the heavy weight of knowing they had entered someone else's arena. As night fell, they set up in an old warehouse, walls cracked from years of dust storms. They ate cold rations, weapons always within reach. Ramirez tried another joke, this time about coffee grounds in his teeth. A couple of chuckles broke the tension, but not for long. Hale sat apart, radio at his side, writing in a small notebook he never showed anyone. He looked at the map once more and muttered, low enough that only Ramirez heard. This city isn't quiet, it's waiting. Fallujah wasn't asleep, it was wide awake, and it was watching us. By the second day inside Fallujah, the city had found its rhythm, and so had the men. The rhythm was tension. Convoy patrols crept through streets too narrow for comfort, Humvee mirrors scraping brick walls. Antennas bent against laundry lines. The soldiers' eyes never stopped moving, scanning rooftops, scanning alleys, scanning the faces of civilians who stared back at them with unreadable expressions. Doc Simmons rode in the back, silent as always, but his hands were restless, checking and rechecking the medical bag. He wasn't waiting for trouble. He knew trouble was coming. It came at noon. The squad had just cleared a long stretch of road when it hit. A flash, a boom, and the lead Humvee jumped like it had been kicked by a giant. An IED buried under the asphalt tore the street open, blasting metal and dust into the air. Private Lewis slammed the brakes. The column jerked to a stop. Ramirez was already out the door, rifle raised. Hale's voice was sharp, steady. "Contact front, sectors, cover fire!" From the shadow of a nearby alley, rifles cracked. Bullets sparked against armored doors, shattered glass, dug into brick. The enemy wasn't visible, just flashes, smoke, and the echo of their fire bouncing between walls. Lewis's hands shook, but his training took over. He dropped the Humvee into reverse, creating space. The gunner above him raked the alley with bursts from the .50 cal, the weapon's roar drowning out the chaos. Hale made the call. Suppress, move, suppress. It became a dance, 2 soldiers firing while 2 moved, bounding across the street, cutting the angles. Doc Simmons pulled a wounded man from the wrecked Humvee, dragging him into cover. Blood soaked the soldier's sleeve, but Simmons's face stayed calm. "You'll be fine. Stay with me. You're not done yet." The fight lasted maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10. In the moment, it felt like an hour. Then silence again. The alley was empty. Shadows where the enemy had been. The men regrouped, checked ammo, checked wounds. 1 casualty, not fatal. Shaken, but alive. As the dust cleared, Hale scanned the street. He noticed something. The car parked 2 blocks down, angled too neatly. A boy watching from a rooftop, running the moment their eyes met. Signs everywhere. Fallujah wasn't random. It was measured. The city wasn't just a battlefield. It was a trap built from habit, routine, silence. That night, back at their makeshift shelter, Ramirez finally said what everyone felt. "They're not fighting to win. They're fighting to bleed us, piece by piece." Hale didn't respond. He didn't need to. Everyone already knew he was right. Fallujah wasn't trying to push us out. It was trying to pull us deeper in. The order was simple. Move through the industrial district at dawn, secure the route for a supply convoy. Simple never survived contact with Fallujah. The morning haze clung to the ground, turning the streets into a gray blur. The squad rolled out, Humvees rumbling, engines echoing against steel walls and shuttered warehouses. Hale sat up front, map in hand, though maps in Fallujah meant less with each passing day. Streets shifted, obstacles appeared where none had been. The first sign came quiet, doors closing all at once, windows slamming shut, a stray dog bolting down the street. Hale's jaw tightened. Eyes open. This isn't right. Then the world erupted. A barrage of RPGs slammed into the column. The lead Humvee burst into flame, black smoke curling upward like a signal flare. AK fire poured from rooftops, alleys, windows. The air itself seemed to turn against them, every sound magnified into chaos. "Contact left, contact right," Ramirez roared, laying down bursts to both sides. Lewis's knuckles turned white on the wheel as rounds pinged off the armor. The gunner above them spun his turret wildly. 50 cal thundering in controlled bursts, tearing into brick and steel. Chunks of wall rained down. Hale's voice cut through the storm, steady as always. "Fronts blocked. Reverse. Smoke out. Simmons. Casualties priority 1. The street was a kill box. Every angle was covered, every exit threatened. As Simmons dragged a wounded gunner back under cover, another RPG slammed into the far wall, showering them with debris. His helmet rang like a bell, but his hands never stopped moving. Lewis cursed as he slammed the Humvee into reverse, tires screeching, engine howling. The convoy pulled back foot by foot, all while gunners poured fire into the alleys to keep heads down. In the chaos, one soldier froze, a rookie attached for the mission, pinned behind a burning Humvee. Ramirez saw him, broke cover, sprinted across the kill zone. Bullets chewed the ground at his heels, sparks leapt from the armor around him. He grabbed the rookie by the vest and threw him towards safety. Then he dove in after, laughing through clenched teeth. "Next time, move your ass before it gets shot off." The ambush pressed hard, but discipline held harder. Step by step, volley by volley, the squad fought their way out of the trap. Smoke grenades hissed, blinding enemy angles. Engines roared in unison. One by one, the Humvees punched back through the block, dragging wounded, firing until barrels glowed red. And then, silence. Not peace, but the kind of silence that follows exhaustion. The street lay in ruin. Spent casings glimmered in the dust. The men were alive, battered, but alive. Hale stood by the hood of his Humvee, scanning the smoke. His words were flat, but every man felt the weight. "They're testing us. Next time it won't just be an ambush, it'll be a siege." Fallujah wasn't finished. The city had just introduced itself. The city closed around them like a fist. By now, every corner of Fallujah was a battlefield. The squad moved block by block, methodical, slow, the streets littered with burned-out cars and broken concrete. Each doorway was a question mark, each rooftop a coin flip between empty silence and incoming fire. Ramirez, left flank. Lewis, keep your eyes on the alleys. Nobody rushes. We clear it all, Hale ordered. Their boots crunched over shattered glass. In the distance, artillery rumbled like a storm, but here the fight was intimate. Rooms, stairs, corridors. First house, empty, only dust and overturned furniture. Second house, not empty. An AK burst ripped down the stairwell. Simmons hit the ground, dragging another Marine with him. Ramirez answered with a frag tossed clean and quick. The explosion shook the walls, plaster raining down. When the dust settled, the upstairs was silent. Lewis exhaled hard. "Feels like the city's alive, like it knows we're here." Hale's reply was dry. "It does, and it wants us tired." Hours blurred. The men grew sharper, movements tighter. Kick door, clear room, move, cover. The rhythm of survival. Their humor, when it came, was gallows humor. Ramirez cracking jokes about the coffee they'd never get to drink, Simmons muttering that he should start charging for every patch-up. Mini crescendo, a sudden ambush in a narrow street. Fighters opened from 3 windows at once, cutting off retreat. The squad dove for cover, firing upward, but the angles were brutal. Then Lewis, quiet, nervous Lewis, made the call. He swung the Humvee forward, ramming it into the corner building. Bricks collapsed. The enemy fire stuttered. It gave the squad the seconds they needed to push through. "Not bad, kid," Ramirez grinned, slapping his helmet. "Next time give me a warning before you try demolition work." Later, in the fading light, they took a brief pause in a shattered courtyard. Simmons sat with the wounded. Hale traced routes on a dirt map. Ramirez leaned against the wall, humming to himself. Around them the city was eerily still, as if waiting. And then came the call over the radio. "All units, push deeper, secure the heart of Fallujah. Tonight." Hale looked at his men. Their faces were gray with dust, eyes bloodshot, hands raw. But nobody flinched. He nodded once. "Street by street, we finish this." They thought the worst was behind them, but the city still had one more storm to throw. By dawn, Fallujah was a furnace. Smoke pillars clawed at the sky, turning the sunrise into a blood-red haze. The squad had pushed deeper than they ever thought possible, and now the order was simple and brutal. Hold this sector, no matter what. They set up in a gutted school building, sandbags at windows, rifles on tripods. The corridors smelled of burned paper and concrete dust. Simmons patched wounds in a classroom with broken desks as his tables. Ramirez checked fields of fire with his usual dry mutter. School of Hard Knocks, boys. Curriculum's full today. The first wave came before noon. Gunfire burst from alleys, shadows darting between walls. Hale's voice cut through the chaos, calm as ever. Short bursts, don't waste it. Simmons, keep your head down. The squad answered with discipline, cutting lanes, shifting fire, holding line. Then came the mortars. Impacts slammed into the courtyard, glass and brick flying. Lewis froze for a second, then remembered Hale's earlier words. Don't move until you've decided where. He sprinted, dragging a wounded Marine into cover. His hands shook, but his grip never let go. Hours bled together. The building shook with each hit. Simmons' bandages ran out. He tore his own sleeves to keep men alive. Ramirez fought until his barrel glowed red, then swapped to another rifle without a word. Hale moved like a metronome, always where he was needed, never louder than necessary. Mini crescendo. A breach. Enemy fighters stormed the first floor, screaming. Close quarters chaos erupted, muzzle flashes in dark halls, hand-to-hand grappling. Simmons, of all people, drove a bayonet into a wall fighter, saving Ramirez's back. Guess I'm not just a medic, he muttered, face pale but steady. By dusk, the assault waned. The squad, bloodied, exhausted, half-deaf from the noise, still stood. Reinforcements finally rolled in, tanks crushing barricades, fresh Marines sweeping streets. The radio crackled. Sector secure. Fallujah is ours. The men didn't cheer. They sat in silence, leaning against shattered walls, staring at the city that had tried to consume them. Lewis whispered first. Did we win? Hale answered after a long pause. We held. That's what winning looks like. Outside, children peeked from alleys, cautious, wide-eyed. The Marines lowered their weapons. Ramirez forced a grin, handing a ration bar to a boy. Welcome back to your city, kid. As night fell, the squad prepared to move again. Fallujah wasn't over, not for them, not for anyone. But they had survived the storm, shoulder to shoulder. And in the quiet of that ruined school, one truth held firm. Brotherhood is built not in victories, but in the moments you refuse to break. The Battle of Fallujah became legend, but for the men who lived it, it was never legend. It was survival. One street, one breath, one brother at a time.